Personal Combat Log, Sub-Commander Vex High Thornridge. Timestamp 47.3.889, Standard Cycle. Classification. Redacted pending review. The human was bleeding into my command trench when I first realized we'd miscalculated everything. Not bleeding on it. Into it. Like she'd become part of the landscape. Red seeping through cracked earth while she worked her portable comm unit with fingers that should have been too shattered to move. The Kethvar bombardment had been going for 6 hours straight. My own species, built for endurance, raised for war, had taken shelter 3 clicks underground. Sergeant Maya Chen kept taking coordinates. "Negative, Blackbird 7, she said, voice crackling through static. "Enemy position is grid square Golf 4-4. Repeat, Golf 4-4. I checked my scanner. Golf 4-4 was a crater. Had been for 2 hours. "Sergeant," I clicked my translation implant to human standard. "That location is compromised." She turned, a grinned with blood-stained teeth. "Good. Command analysis. Note, human facial expressions remain counterintuitive. The bearing of dental weaponry typically indicates aggression. In this context, it appeared to signal satisfaction. The thing about humans, and I'm documenting this for whoever finds these logs after the Kethvar finish glassing this moon, is that they don't retreat logically. Every other species in the coalition has protocols, predetermined fallback positions, and acceptable loss ratios, clean extraction procedures that preserve materiel and minimize casualties. Humans have the crater protocol. They blow things up and live in the wreckage. Chen had been embedded with my unit for 3 rotations. Standard alliance procedure. Experienced alien forces mentor developing species, ease them into galactic warfare doctrine. The irony wasn't lost on me. Her homeworld had been spacefaring for less than 2 centuries. We'd been building empires while her ancestors were learning to make fire, but she'd kept our unit alive for 73 days running. My thorax ached, stress molting. I hadn't done that since cadet training. "Blackbird 7 requesting immediate artillery support," Chen continued. "Target my position." I dropped my data slate. The humans had a saying, "Come again?" "Sergeant Chen, did you just request fire mission on friendly position? Affirmative." She was stripping down her kit. An ammunition. Rations. Anything that could explode or burn. "Range, danger close. Repeat, danger close." The Kethvar advanced in their standard formation. Mechanical precision, energy shields overlapping. They moved like water, flowing around obstacles, taking the path of least resistance. It had worked against every species they'd conquered for the past millennium. Chen wasn't moving like water. She was moving like something that wanted to be caught. "What are you doing?" I asked. She hefted her improvised explosive device. 3 ration heating units daisy-chained together with field wire. The kind of setup that would have gotten her court-martialed in any civilized military. The kind of setup that had been keeping us alive. Teaching them geography. Personal note, I have since reviewed human educational practices. Teaching geography does not typically involve high explosives. Context remains unclear. The Kethvar reached the trench. Chen was waiting. They dropped into formation around her. 12 soldiers, energy weapons powered, standard capture protocol for high-value intelligence assets. They weren't stupid. Humans had proven too valuable to simply eliminate. Better to extract information, learn their tactics, find weaknesses. Chen smiled again. "Boom," she said. The world went white. I found myself 300 meters down slope, ears bleeding, watching pieces of Kethvar armor rain from the sky like metal confetti. The crater that used to be grid square Golf 4-4 had acquired a crater of its own, a crater with a crater. Some kind of geological recursion that defied tactical logic. My communicator crackled. "Blackbird 7, this is Dustoff. We have one warm body at your position, requesting immediate extraction. Chen was alive. Of course she was alive. Humans didn't die when they were supposed to die. They died when they chose to die. Sometimes not even then. And I found her 20 meters from ground zero, partially buried under alien debris, still clutching her comm unit. Both legs bent wrong, concussion, second-degree burns across 40% of her surface area. She was laughing. "Did you see their faces?" she asked. "Right before, they looked so confused." I helped dig her out. My hands were shaking. Combat stress. Had to be combat stress. "Sergeant Chen, you used yourself as bait." "Bait implies I was trying to get caught." She winced as I lifted a chunk of armor plating off her torso. "I was trying to get them all in one place. Big difference. The explosion could have killed you." "Could have. Didn't. That's why they call it calculated risk." "Your calculations were right?" I paused, checked my scanner. The Kethvar advance had stalled. Their entire forward element was gone, vaporized. The secondary formations were pulling back to regroup. Yes," I admitted. "Your calculations were correct." She nodded. Serious now. The laughter had drained away, leaving something harder behind. "The Kethvar think in straight lines. Attack, retreat, flank, withdraw. They're good at it, really good, but they can't adapt when the geometry changes." She gestured at the smoking crater. "So I changed the geometry." Tactical analysis. Human strategic doctrine appears to rely on deliberate self-endangerment to create favorable engagement parameters. Effectiveness, proven. Replicability, unknown. Sanity, highly questionable. The extraction shuttle arrived 40 minutes later. Human medical team. They worked with the kind of focused efficiency that spoke of long practice. How many times had they put Sergeant Chen back together? "You're shipping out," the medic told her. "Full rotation, recovery and reassignment." Chen tried to sit up, failed, tried again. "Negative. My unit needs—" "Your unit needs you alive, Sergeant." "I'm not dead, hero, stupid." I watched them load her onto the gurney. She was still protesting, still fighting. Even unconscious, her hands moved restlessly, like she was working comm controls in her sleep. The medic noticed me staring. "First time working with humans?" "Yes." He nodded, sympathetic. "Yeah. They do this thing where they make suicidal tactics look like genius. Screws with your head after a while." "Is she—" I searched for the right human phrase. "Is she normal?" "But for your species?" The medic paused, considered. "Chen, she's maybe a little crazier than average, but the crazy ones are usually the ones who figure out how to keep everyone else breathing." The shuttle lifted off, taking Chen toward the Fleet Medical Station. I stood in the smoking ruins of what used to be a perfectly good military position, watching the Kethvar retreat to a safe distance. They'd be back. They always came back. But they'd be back different. Cautious. Uncertain. Chen had taught them geography, all right. She'd taught them that the ground itself could explode. End log entry, 47.3.889. Next scheduled update. Pending medical clearance for Sergeant Chen. Personal. Note, request immediate psychiatric evaluation for entire human military corps. Suspected mass psychological dysfunction. Possible correlation with battlefield effectiveness. Investigate further. Personal combat log. Sub-Commander Vex High Thornridge. Timestamp 51.7.923. Standard cycle location. Contested mining station. Zeta Prime status. Increasingly concerned. Chen came back different, not broken different. Humans didn't break the way other species broke. They bent, twisted, came back wrong-shaped but functional, like metal heated and cooled too fast. She walked with a limp now. Left leg. Servo-assisted brace hidden under her combat fatigues. Her eyes moved constantly. Decataloguing exits, cover positions, potential weapons. The kind of hypervigilance that meant someone had learned to treat everything as a threat, including kitchens. "Why?" she asked, staring at our temporary shelter's food preparation area. "Is there a sonic resonance unit next to the protein synthesizer?" I followed her gaze. Standard Coalition mess hall, nothing unusual. For cleaning, the resonance frequency breaks down organic residue. What's the maximum amplitude? Why would you need to know that? She was already examining the unit, hands moving over controls with the kind of familiarity that suggested dangerous thinking, the kind of familiarity that had turned a crater into a weapon. "Just curious." Personal note: when humans claim curiosity, immediate evacuation is recommended. Zeta Prime had been a simple occupation mission, mining station, strategic value, minimal, resistance, expected to be light, on the kind of assignment they gave to recovering personnel and green units, easy duty. The Kethvar had other ideas. They'd fortified the station's central hub, turned the administrative levels into a killing field, energy barriers, automated defenses, overlapping fields of fire, classic siege doctrine. Our forces were stalled, had been stalled for 6 days. Casualties mounting, morale declining, command was discussing withdrawal. Chen was discussing lunch. "Subcommander, do you know the thermal coefficient of standard durasteel plating?" I was reviewing tactical displays, trying to find some angle of approach that wouldn't result in total unit annihilation. "What does that have to do with anything?" "Everything expands when heated. Durasteel more than most alloys." "Chen, we need to focus on—" "I am focusing." She was sketching diagrams on her data slate, mechanical drawings, stress calculations. "How many sonic resonance units does this station have?" "Dozens." "Oh, why? And they're all networked? Central frequency control?" I stopped reviewing tactical data. Looked at her. Really looked. She was planning something. "Sergeant Chen, what are you thinking?" "I'm thinking about making soup." Military analysis. Human strategic planning often involves metaphors that bear no relationship to actual tactical objectives. Recommend interpreter training for all coalition officers. The thing about siege warfare is that everyone assumes it's about walls, not about breaking through, going over, or going around. Military doctrine across 12 species, refined over millennia of conflict. Chen thought it was about cooking. "Look," she said, spreading her improvised blueprints across the mess table. "The Kethvar have turned levels 12 through 15 into a fortress, energy shields, hardened positions, everything. But they're still using the station's infrastructure. Environmental systems, power grid, water recycling. Food preparation," she pointed to her drawings. The station's layout overlaid with what looked like plumbing schematics. "Every level has a mess hall. Every mess hall has sonic resonance units for cleaning. Every unit connects to the central network. And if you synchronize them all to the same frequency, tune that frequency to match the resonant frequency of durasteel structural supports, and then amplify the signal—" She trailed off. "Let me work it out." Physics was physics. Resonance was resonance. If you matched the natural frequency of a material and applied enough energy, you want to shake the building apart. Not the whole building, just levels 12 through 15. That's impossible. The power requirements alone are already built into the system. We're not generating new energy, we're redirecting existing energy. The station's main reactor provides power to the sonic units. We just need to coordinate them. Personal note: humans have a disturbing tendency to view infrastructure as weapons waiting to be activated. It took her 3 hours to hack the central network. 3 hours of sitting in the mess hall, surrounded by the gentle humming of food preparation equipment, programming sonic resonance units to commit architectural sabotage. I watched her work, focused, methodical, the kind of calm concentration that came from someone who'd learned to find order in chaos. How did you know this would work?" I asked. I didn't. Still don't, actually. She didn't look up from her data slate. But the Kethvar spent 6 days building their fortress, reinforcing positions, setting up crossfires. They put a lot of work into making those levels impregnable. And now they're trapped in there. The test run started at 1400 hours. Low amplitude, minimal risk, just enough resonance to see if the theory held. The station shivered, not shook, not vibrated, shivered. I'd like something alive, recognizing a threat. Chen smiled, the expression that meant someone was about to have a very bad day. Amplitude at 15%, she reported. Structural integrity holding. No defensive reaction from Kethvar positions. They don't know what's happening. They will. She increased the power. 20%. 25. The floor began to hum. A low, almost subsonic vibration that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Through our feet. Through the walls. Through our bones. 30%. The first cracks appeared in the ceiling. Hairline fractures. Stress patterns radiating from load-bearing joints. Chen's fingers hovered over the controls. Final amplitude, 60%. Once I activate this, we have maybe 30 seconds before structural collapse becomes irreversible. And if the Kethvar don't surrender, then we renovate their fortress into a very deep hole. Tactical observation. Human siege doctrine prioritizes property damage over preservation of strategic assets. Effectiveness unclear. Psychological impact significant. She triggered the final sequence. The station screamed. Metal on metal. Stress fractures propagating through durasteel like cracks through ice. The support beams beginning to resonate, vibrating at frequencies that turned solid matter into something approaching liquid. Level 12, ceiling collapse in the administrative wing. Level 13, structural supports failing in sequential cascade. Level 14, emergency bulkheads activating automatically. Level 15, total evacuation alarms. The Kethvar broke cover, not retreating, fleeing, panic evacuation, no formation, no covering fire. And just desperate movement away from the collapsing infrastructure they'd spent days fortifying. Our forces were waiting. It wasn't a battle. It was a cleanup operation. Chen shut down the resonance field. The station settled with groaning protests, damaged but stable. The central hub looked like someone had taken a giant's fist to a house of cards. Mission accomplished. I found her in the mess hall afterward, sitting at the same table where she'd planned the whole operation, eating standard rations, acting like she'd just solved a logistics problem instead of revolutionizing siege warfare. How did you know they'd run? Basic psychology. Nobody wants to get crushed by their own bunker. She paused. Well, almost nobody. Almost? Humans might have stayed, out of spite if nothing else. She was probably right. Humans had a documented tendency to double down on bad situations rather than admit defeat. The resonance technique. Or will you report it to tactical command? Chen considered, took another bite of reconstituted protein. Probably not. Why? Because next time the Kethvar will be ready for it. Better to keep it quiet until we really need it. She met my eyes. Besides, every station has different infrastructure. This trick only works here. So what's next? She gestured around the mess hall, the innocent-looking equipment that had just demolished 4 levels of fortification. Next, we find a station with industrial fabricators. End log entry, 51.7.923. Personal note. Request reassignment to administrative duties. Combat operations with humans appear to be causing cumulative psychological damage. Specifically, now view all household appliances as potential weapons. Condition may be irreversible. Our personal combat log, Sub-Commander Vex High Thornridge. Timestamp, 55.2.104, standard cycle location, orbital platform Nexus 7. Classification, final entry. The cooking stove was older than the war, Coalition surplus. The kind of equipment that had been serving meals across the galaxy since before humanity had learned to leave their homeworld. Reliable, simple. The sort of thing you could repair with spare parts and stubbornness. Chen found it in the abandoned galley of Nexus 7, covered in dust, disconnected from power, forgotten. She looked at it like other people looked at lost family. Beautiful, she whispered. Personal note: human aesthetic preferences remain incomprehensible. Object in question appears to be standard industrial food preparation equipment. Condition: poor. Beauty: undetectable. 3 months. That's how long we'd been running search and rescue operations in the Kethvar-occupied systems, pulling out civilians, coalition personnel, in anyone who'd survived the initial invasions and gone to ground. Chen had volunteered for every mission, every dangerous extraction, every impossible situation. I'd started timing her conversations. Average length, 47 seconds. Subject matter, tactical necessity. Personal disclosure, minimal. She was disappearing inside herself. 1 mission at a time. Nexus. 7 was supposed to be empty. Abandoned orbital platform. Too damaged to be worth occupying. Too expensive to repair. In the kind of place you used for emergency shelter and supply drops. Instead, we found 300 civilians. They've been here for months, reported our medic. Hiding in the lower levels, makeshift shelters, jury-rigged life support. He paused. They're in bad shape, Sub-Commander. Malnutrition. Disease. We need to evacuate them immediately. Standard procedure. Load them onto our transport. Ship them to Coalition medical facilities. Quick and clean. And the problem was the transport had capacity for 70 passengers. Maximum. We'll make multiple trips, I decided. Take the worst cases first. Chen was studying her tactical display, scanning the surrounding space. Kethvar patrol routes? Standard pattern. 6-hour intervals. Next pass is... I checked the chronometer. 4 hours, 20 minutes. Not enough time. Multiple trips means multiple exposures. A higher probability of detection. Then what do you suggest? She was already moving, not toward the transport bay, toward the galley, toward the cooking stove. Tactical analysis. When humans begin examining kitchen equipment during combat operations, immediate evacuation is strongly recommended. Chen, what are you doing? Buying time. She was opening access panels, pulling out components, the power coupling, the heating elements, the thermal regulators, or disassembling the stove like she was performing surgery. This platform still has main reactor power? Minimal. Emergency lighting and life support only. That's enough. She was working faster now, hands moving with the kind of practiced efficiency that came from too much experience improvising under pressure. Taking apart equipment that was designed to cook food, reconfiguring it for purposes never intended by its manufacturers. Sergeant Chen, hey, please explain what you're attempting. Remember the sonic resonance trick? Same principle, different application. She held up a heating element, standard plasma coil, the kind used in industrial food preparation for over a century. Plasma coils generate thermal radiation. Focused thermal radiation can be concentrated into a beam. A beam with enough coherence and power can overload energy shields. You're building a weapon, out of cooking equipment. I'm building a distraction. Out of cooking equipment. Technical note: human engineering appears to view the distinction between weapon and distraction as largely semantic. The first Kethvar patrol arrived 3 hours early. Single scout ship, reported our sensor operator. Standard reconnaissance pattern. They've detected the platform. I watched our tactical display. The scout was circling, cautious, probing for defensive systems, finding none. Chen, whatever you're planning, ready? She'd mounted the improvised plasma cannon on the galley's main prep table. Jury-rigged targeting system. Manual firing controls. The whole assembly looked like something a particularly creative engineer might build for an art project. Range to target? 40,000 kilometers. Well within effective range. Effective range of what? That's a cooking stove. Was a cooking stove. The Kethvar scout completed its initial sweep, began moving closer. A standard protocol. Confirm no hostile forces, then call in the occupation fleet. Chen tracked it with her improvised weapon. Calm, focused, like she was preparing dinner. Thermal beam at 70% power, targeting their shield generators. She fired. The beam was invisible to visual spectrum, but our sensors caught it. A lance of concentrated thermal energy reaching across 40,000 kilometers of space to touch the Kethvar scout. For a moment, nothing happened. And then the scout ship's shields flared, overloaded, failed. Emergency systems activated. The ship began evasive maneuvers, but Chen was already adjusting targeting. Second shot, third shot. The scout's hull began to glow, metal heating to incandescence. Emergency venting as atmosphere expanded beyond containment limits. The ship didn't explode. It just melted. Slowly, visibly. Structural integrity failing as superheated metal lost cohesion. Target destroyed, Chen reported. Estimated time before they're missed by command? 6 hours. Standard patrol check-in protocol. Then we have 6 hours to evacuate 300 people. She was already moving, breaking down the improvised weapon, salvaging components. What are you doing now? Building 5 more. Strategic assessment. Human tactical doctrine appears to rely on converting any available technology into weapon systems, kitchen equipment, construction tools, children's toys. Then nothing is safe from weaponization. We got everyone out, all 300 civilians, loaded into every available transport, emergency passenger configuration, people packed into cargo holds and maintenance bays. The improvised plasma cannons covered our retreat. 6 cooking stoves turned into defensive weapons, each one operated by volunteers who'd learned to shoot by watching Chen work. It shouldn't have worked. Jury-rigged equipment operated by untrained personnel against military-grade vessels. But it did work. The Kethvar occupation force arrived to find an empty platform. No civilians, no coalition forces, just the scorched remains of their scout patrol and 6 burned-out cooking stoves. I found Chen in our transport's galley afterward, sitting at the preparation counter, staring at a standard-issue food synthesizer. Thinking about weaponizing that too? No. She was quiet for a long moment. Just thinking. About what? About how much I miss real food, cooked on a real stove, with real ingredients. It was the first personal thing she'd said in 3 months. When this is over, I said, I'll help you find one, a cooking stove, a good one. She smiled. Not the smile that meant someone was about to explode, the other one, the one that meant she remembered being human. Thanks, Vex. Or I'd like that. Personal analysis. Extended observation suggests humans require regular connection to non-military activities to maintain psychological stability. Specifically, food preparation, recreational activities, and social bonding. Absence of these elements results in progressive emotional isolation. Command recommendation. All human personnel should be provided with cooking facilities and recreational time, not for morale purposes, for operational effectiveness. The isolated humans are unpredictable humans. Unpredictable humans make dangerous tactical decisions. Personal addendum. Request transfer to Human Military Doctrine Study Group. 3 years of combat operations with Sergeant Chen has fundamentally altered my understanding of warfare, technology, and the strategic application of household appliances. Believe this knowledge could benefit the broader coalition military. Also, request procurement of a high-quality cooking stove for personal use, or not for weaponization purposes, for making soup. End Final log entry 55.2.104 classification, approved for general distribution. Note, Sergeant Chen has been promoted to lieutenant and assigned to the Coalition's new Unconventional Warfare Development Division. Current project status? Classified. Project codename, Kitchen Sink. Somehow, I'm not surprised.